G'day everyone and welcome. If I haven't already wished you a Happy New Year on that feed I did that was kind of disastrous, like they all seem to be, Happy New Year to everyone. This is just a quick intermediate video. I'm back into working on the XC. There was a couple of things on the XW and the XD I need to look at. The XW stopped selecting gears and it's dirty, and I just wanted to give it a quick clean up and that sort of stuff, and it's gone somewhere else to stay for now. The XD has paint issues because I did a lot of things wrong when I painted it. That's been painted now for about 12 years and it's going to need redoing, and I just wanted to have a look at that. And also I bought a PWR cooler for a transmission cooler because I wanted to do away with the inline radiator transmission cooler. So we have a look at those two cars. As I said, this is just intermediate stuff. There's no groundbreaking content in here, but just something to sort of say good day to you, and also this is what's going on. And I'm also going to have a look at Dave's camper van, and there'll be some footage on that as well later on. So without anything further, I hope you enjoy. Right, time to do more work on the XD Falcon. Got to get rid of this thing. Sigma's coming back, mainly because it's a lot smaller and I can get work done with the Sigma in here, and also I've got to want to put the body mouldings on. This thing's looking dowdy. It needs a good wash, good clean. I'm not happy with it at all. And looking dirty in here too. I've got to adjust these boot hinges too because the boot is inclined to fall and I don't want that. So I've got to do that. That is the PWR cooler for the XD, which we've got to do. Sigma's mouldings here I've got to put on. These are the nose cone bits from Andy Brook. And the boot lock for the XC over there. So this thing's just dirty. I never got around to getting a mat for it. We need to do that, but I'm going to adjust these hinges. Have a look at the boot. I've also got to put those headlight brackets on the XC as well. So there's a bit to do. But yeah, this thing just needs a wash. Look, it's filthy. And that's just all dust and just muck. The paint still looks good. I did a lot of work on this when I did the car. This has been finished 5 years ago. And I've only done about 1,000 miles, but you can see it's really, really dirty. It's a stain. It just needs a proper wash and a bit of love, which it hasn't had. So the really pressing thing with it is the gear shift has become loose and it's not selecting gears properly. So there's something come loose underneath, I think. So I've got to get underneath and have a look first. I thought I'd treat the XW to a bit of a light polish in some areas and a wash and so forth. That's looking alright. But we don't get gears. And I thought originally it was a selector, where is it, down there, and it's not, that's still tight. So I need to take a look underneath, or I have taken a look underneath, and I'll show you what I found, which is a real pain in the neck. Haven't been under here for a long time. Whoops. Dodgy camera work, but we can't do too much about that. Hang on a minute, what are we doing? I'm lying in the wrong spot. This is starting to look all dirty. Damn. Oh, doesn't matter. Oil leak wise, she's pretty good. So from underneath it still looks pretty good and fresh. There's a weep, like a sweat, but there's no drips, which is always a pretty good thing. Right. Rear main looks damn tasty, that's good. But the selector shaft here has popped out. And there was a bush in there. I'll have to take that off and come up with something. That is supposed to be in there, and it's flopping around like an old fish. So I think what I'll do is I'll take those bolts out and make something up for that. I can't remember what was in there, but I'm pleased with how it all looks. It still looks nice and clean under here. Anyway, I'm going to take this out and figure something out. So everything's looking in order. Haven't done many miles in this car. Looks like we've still got a selector shaft oil leak. That's been leaking on the exhaust, but it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look like it's dripping. It may have been a past leak. There's a leak at the back of the... There's a leak there, which you're going to need to look at. This is a C4. If anyone tells you it's a C10, they're wrong. There's no such thing. That's a nickname for these things. There's two types of C4. Pardon me. That is a pan-filled C4. You can see there. This is out of a Mustang originally, but the locals call them C10s. But there's case-filled and pan-filled. This is a pan-filled. I think that's otherwise all right. I'll get it off the stands and have a look. Go for a drive. See how she goes. I don't remember putting a washer and split pin there. Maybe that was the cause. Right, let's have a look at this dowdy old XD Falcon, and you can see the paint is absolutely horrible on it. I painted this, I'm going to say 12 years ago, and spent a good deal of its time outside. Also, I made the mistake all those years ago of putting too much product on, and there was a lot of solvent bleed through and all that sort of stuff. Now, back in 2007, I built a 429 big block. It was a Dove block, so it could be drilled for 4-bolt mains, all this sort of stuff with Crobberjet covers, and I was going to paint it all as an XD engine in the silver and the black, and fit it. Even had an XD air cleaner with 429 Thunderjet at the top, even though it was more a Crobberjet spec. I just didn't have the heart to pull this engine out. It's never been out before. The heads have never been off. The most it's been off, but the air cleaner's been off, the carby's been off, the rocker covers have been off, and that's it. It's just never had anything done to it, really. Aside from master cylinder, an alternator, a water pump. It's had a couple of water pumps since it was new. A few bits like that. Now, to this day, I did a compression test on a video I ran some years ago, and number 4 and number 8 were down in compression. But to this day, it still runs well. I will do the valve stem seals because it smokes when it's warm and you restart it. I know the valve stem seals have never been done and they're knackered, so I will do those. I have a 351 block for this car. Still haven't got the heart to put it in. I might even keep that 351 block for something else. I just don't really want to take this engine out. Now, there were a couple of reasons I was going to take it out, and I'll tell you about those now. This car's had the master cylinder done, as I said. The booster's never been off. It looks a bit dowdy. I'd like to take it off and get it overhauled, put a new master on it, redo the brakes, including rebuilding the front calipers and new wheel cylinders and lines and all this sort of stuff. The reason is the brakes have never really, they haven't been done in at least 20 years. They work, but you got to push pretty hard. I think the friction material on the front pads is basically hard. They get hard and they sort of start cracking after a while. So I think that'll probably just improve it, just the pads by themselves. But there's also a lot of rust and external rust on here. I was originally going to take the engine out to do that and to do the steering box, because there is an oil leak in the steering box. It's not a terribly bad oil leak, but it's all over the coupling, and I'd just like to make it a little bit safer. So it remains to be seen what we do in terms of work on this car. I keep it going and I use it every month or so. I take it for a nice drive and enjoy it. In fact, the other day we went to Croydon a couple of times with it to pick up a huge lathe for a chap over the road with a trailer on it, and a week before that we were picking up a dining room table for my mother, so it still does get quite a lot of use. Of course, the other thing this car came with was a transmission cooler, and if we look over here we can see some lovely corrosion. You can see the way they've cut the steel lines and they've fitted a cooler at the front of the car. Now I replaced, or this car stopped, it was having trouble selecting gear. It stopped selecting drive and you had to sort of muck around with the shifter. This is back in 1992. It was running very hot all the time with a horse float, and consequently the transmission needed rebuilding, which I did. I took it out and stripped it right down and overhauled it and replaced the cooler with a slightly bigger one. But all that sort of plumbing and hardware there is all dealer fitted from Coffee's back in the 70s. Looking underneath it, we can see this is, or can we see? I can't really see from here. This is a pan-filled C4. Exactly the same transmission I put in the XW. There might be ratio changes. This is for a 4.9 litre or a 302 if you prefer, where the XW's unit was for a 351 2V Mustang. Now C4s have become very popular with people doing driveline changes and this sort of stuff. Most people, when they're converting a Falcon from a 6-cylinder to a V8, they do tend to put automatic transmissions in. When you start looking at all the manual transmission stuff, it gets very, very expensive. You used to be able to pick these things up for $100. I have the one I picked up for the XW. I think I swapped for some bits, and I got it pretty much for free from Ray. All that was done to that, the pan was taken off. There was no clutch material or anything. Seals were eventually run through it, and it is how it is today. It's perfect. So with this one, I'm particularly nervous about something, and of course it goes back to this area here. Most transmissions are cooled through the radiator, so you can see that union there in the top. This one, as we said before, has an external one at the front, but it still runs in series with the one inside the radiator. Now they don't often fail, right? You're fairly safe with them, but I'm paranoid about it. I've seen a couple of them fail, and when that happens, you get radiator coolant through your transmission, and it's good night for the transmission. Now I'm going to do away with this. I don't want the integral one in the radiator active at all, but I do want a large one at the front. Of course, this is where PWR come in. Now, I run one of these, or ran one of these in the Galaxy. I've got one in the XW. The Plymouth hasn't got a cooler, but there's one sitting on the floor in the front. That's a torque flight. If I can get one, or if there's unions on the torque flight, I'm not sure about those, then I'll certainly be fitting one of these to the Plymouth as well. Now, this is a 280 by 255 millimeter cooler. There's two ways to buy them. You have to make sure when you're doing a Ford application that you use 5/16 barbs, because these are supplied generically with 3/8 barbs on them. So we need the smaller ones, which is what they are. So when you buy these things, you pick them up in a kit. Of course, it comes with some hose, some clamps, some zip tie things, and the cooler itself. Now, I paid $130 for this as a bare bones article, and picked up a fitting kit for a Davies Craig type thermatic fan. It's got springs, we don't need those, but we do need the little cable tie things. That was $12. And of course, I've got some transmission cooler line here. So I guess the best thing is to pop the grill out. And this screwdriver is not magnetic. So where are we going in there? But we'll drop screws and we'll pick them up. Okay. But I'll probably just take them out anyway. We've got to be careful with stuff like this. So this car's spent a lot of its life in the sun. Whoops, nearly dropped it. And of course the materials become brittle. Okay, this cooler. Can you see it? Yes, you can. I put that cooler in. The original one was literally just a loop like that. This is something of a better quality cooler. The way it's fitted was fitted at Ford like that. So I just used the original brackets and stuck this one in. That's a much heavier duty one than what was there originally. But I don't think it's going to offer the surface area of all those fins. You can see with this one, we're coming in here, or there, it doesn't matter which, and we're going through each of these tubes. A lot of surface area with those tubes and the fins between them, so it's going to be a lot more effective than that guy. So I think what we'll do is we'll pop that out and fit the new cooler. One thing you'll notice when you start pulling cords apart of this vintage, there's a real cross between metric and imperial fasteners. This is a 6x1 metric fastener that holds the washer bottle on. It's all just down to the speed nut, so if you want to put a 1/4 inch one there you could. It's just attached to the radiator fan shroud. But the XC, for example, the interior door handles are a 6mm fastener and the doors are held on with 5/16 cores. You can tell this was put in a long time ago. They're slotted screws. They're slotted self-tapping screws. So pretty average, really, the way they were fitted. And these days there's a lot more quality control in the way dealers fit accessories, and most of the time they come as a kit with proper bracketry and that sort of thing. This is just whatever the mechanic or technician had in his toolbox, which is this, and it's been broken off. And that, as I said, was done at Coffee's way back when. Well, we've got the old cooler out. All we need to do really, I'm just going to take that off, loop this one round into there, and that way it can be stored. It'll still have fluid in it, but it doesn't matter. These are pretty good in that they've got these pads. So I'm just going to put one over each hole, just like that, and that'll insulate the radiator from the body of this thing. Ideally, I guess you want the thing horizontal, and it's sort of, well, vertical, sorry, and it's horizontal at the moment, so I'm not sure how good this is going to be. Just to allow for plumbing, because it comes in from the side. It would probably be better going the other way, but I'm just not confident that it's going to be alright. So that'll all fit down there. There's a power steering cooler line down there, so it's probably even better to move it over a little bit. Which I probably should do. It'd be better, given that it allows us a bit more of a hose radius, and also down the bottom it allows much easier access, if you can see down there, while allowing clearance between that and the power steering cooler. Worth remembering, XD radiators are offset. If you remember, I tried to fit one of these shrouds that I've got on the back wall to the XC and it wouldn't go. And we can see in there where the things are coming through. So I run into my first problem. This has got the small hole which opens up. So as you push this in, you can pull it straight out again. Really, really poor product. So we'll try this one. That feels a bit better. But again, you can just pull them straight out. Now this one won't come out. Oh, yes it did. That came out too. Look, I'm going to go for this one, which came with the power steering kit. For the Sigma, which I didn't use, these look much stouter, although they do look quite... hang on. Oh, these have got a different type of fastener. I'm going to try these ones and see how we go. But anyway, there's the cooler down there. Hopefully it's not too visible from the front of the car. It might be, but I've just got to get those other clamps with a longer tail on them. These guys, a full set of those, and we can top the tranny fluid up and see how she goes. Right, now we've got the right fittings, sort of. Took that union out of there, and it's an 1/8" BSP, which is that, a plug. That will screw straight in there, be nice and neat and all that sort of stuff. But the only problem is, today's Saturday, I can only get one. So I have to wait till Monday to go to the other supplier. So So I'll take that one out of the bottom. It's going to be a bit messy actually. I might take that tube off first because that's just sitting over a flare to stop it leaking all over the floor. And do this. This is just temporary to stop it leaking all over the floor, which it kind of did anyway. But I don't want any crap getting in that line there. So this is going to leak fluid everywhere, so I'm just going to pop a rag under here to catch it if I can. I'd prefer it to be capped off neatly. These things, when you buy a radiator, they've got a plastic plug in them, which is no big deal if they've never had fluid in, but I just don't want leaks and just crap everywhere, if that makes any sense. So, I can't see. That's probably a little bit better there. And that just tightens up with the 7/16. And just keeps it neat. Yeah. Leaked fluid everywhere, but what do you do? For the line, I didn't want to cut it as I said, so I've got this contraption here. That's got the flared fitting in the end of it. There's a joiner and a 1/4" BSP fitting with a 5/16 hose piece on there, and that will just screw into the line. And we can nip that up, and then the hose can just plug into that. It's a little bit, I'll just pull it over a little bit, stick the hose on. But that'll be alright, as long as there's no duress on it, I don't really care. And it's overkill. It's just that I didn't want to join the hose directly onto the pipe, but I have to here anyway because somebody cut the original piece off. Top, I've just got a rubber plug, and that won't come out. That should stay there, and it'll keep any muck out of the cool there, even though we're not going to use it again. We can just put that washer bottle back. Just make sure it clears, not washer bottle, what's it called? Overflow bottle. That'll be fine, it'll hide that whole array of joinery. I'm just going to pop some water in here and I'll put it in. Okay, that'll do it for now. What I'm going to do is pop the transmission up and just run it, get it nice and warm, check for leaks. I'm pretty confident this will be a pretty good solution. Would have been nice to have the sort of cooler mounted the other way, just to marry up. So it's got this sort of waffle thing going on with radiators that way, coolers that way. I don't think it matters too much. What I'm going to do, start it, run it, get it warm, check the fluid, give it a wash. No leaks, put the grill back in. Right, so we're awaiting a wash. That's already warm, the power steering one. Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't know they got that warm that quickly. It's a sweet little runner, isn't it? That's why I don't want to take the engine out. Just let it warm up a bit more. That's on cold, okay. I put about 300 mils of oil in, of fluid in, that should be okay. It's starting to warm up now, but the transmission hasn't been used on the road, so it's still going to be reasonably cool. Something rattling around in here, like the air cleaner or something, I can't think what that noise is. It's just a rattle noise, but the main thing is we're getting a bit of warmth into the cooler. We've got no leaks, which is good. So I think maybe the best thing to do is to wash this car now. I might have to just wash on the bumper where the grill was first and put the grill back in. But I mean, the paint was great out here, but under fluoros, not so much. And you can see there's the damage. Now, part of this, I'll tell you what half of it was. When I did this car many years ago, I let the kids scratch their names into it. I should have let them use a pencil or a texter. And what happened was I painted, you could see it through it, and rather than taking the paint off and starting again, I painted over it, so there was far too much product. And that is, I think, the reason why we've got crow's footing issues. But you know what? It is what it is. So I'm just going to shut this down, and you can hear that rattle. I don't know what it is. Anyway, well, here she is all together. It's had a bit of a bath. It presents okay, but it's just not great. There's all the crow's footing on the top. I haven't bothered polishing the roof. I haven't bothered polishing the sides. Let's give it a little wash. And it presents okay. It's just going to have to be taken right back to bare metal. I've got muck on that bloody thing there. It's going to have to be taken right back to bare metal and redone. Just to give the steel protection. Like, we've got a nice reflection. Under fluoros, though, you can see nowhere near as good as it should be. As I said, I did this car 12 years ago, and I've learned a lot more about painting since I finished it. I would do things very differently now, and I would also endeavour to keep it in better sort of living quarters than what it's been. As I said, I don't know if I did say, this car, when I first finished it, was kept in my mother's house in Park Orchards, and there was a whole bunch of brush-tailed possums lived in the garage with it, and they urinated all over it, and I put a cover on and the urine went through the cover. And then of course it stayed out in 40-degree heat in the summer, and of course during the winter with the cover on, the cover collected a whole lot of moisture and it just ruined it. So that's all got to come off. It's not stable. We can't keep that paint on there. What I'm hoping to do with it is see how long I can keep it like that for. Kind of hoping I can get another sort of 7 or 8 years out of it. Then it would have gone 20 years on a crummy paint job, and then I can do it properly. I'll do it a lot differently. I love the colour. This is nutmeg. Now these cars are quite unusual in that most of the V8 cars, the factory V8 cars with Fairmont gears, the occasional Fairmont turns up. Most Falcon GLs like this one were 6s. This is the base model, and the 6-cylinder cars were very prevalent. Occasionally you'll see a V8 in a S-Pack, which is the sports pack. It had stripy wool blend seats and all this sort of stuff. This has got the Fairmont gear trim, which was off a wreck. The original seat frames and everything that came with this car were there. I actually just took the covers off the seats I got, popped them in the washing machine and stuck them in the car, or stuck them on top of these, because the vinyl seats that were there before it all split, given that the car's lived outside for a good deal of its life. What else is there to talk about with it? That Fairmont gear was a bounty of parts actually. The seat covers I got from there, remote boot release came from there. Hang on, oh, that always opens with a bit of gusto. The carpet mat, because the original rubber one had perished. That carpet mat was from the Fairmont gear. The boot light from the Fairmont gear, and the interior map lights were from that car as well. I think I gave them $200 all up. That rear louver might have been out of it as well. External to that, I bought that light separately and put that in. I've always liked those. That's about it. Dad had the clock in, or he put that in when we got it. My brother and my father did that, and the rest of it is just as it was. I think. I don't think it's in it. Oh, I put the wheels on. The original wheels that it came with when we bought it were like the standard XD Falcon wheels, and they had like a Datsun 200B hubcap, a plastic one. Of course, Mum used to run past the rocks with a horse blade on the back and smash them up. These ones I got from a guy. I need to clean the tyres, they look terrible. These ones I got from a guy that had a ex-police car, I think. It had those wheels on. I bought these. These are the original S-Pack Falcon wheels. They're normally silver. That is the silver that I used for the centre hub with a tiny bit of the nutmeg in it to give it that champagne colour. Have my time again, I'll probably just do them silver. So anyway, look, I hope you've enjoyed that. It's just a bit of a look at the two cars, the two other Fords. The XW's gone to its new place to stay for a while, as long as I can, before it comes home. So we want to keep this guy inside just to take a bit of the edge off that paint, to sort of, you know, try and make it last a bit longer, because the next time I do it, I'll do it again, but I'll do it a lot differently, and we'll get a much more longevity out of the paint. Alright, we'll put this guy to bed again. Oh, gee whiz, where are we? Oh, we're back on the choke. I'm just going to make sure I don't hit anything. This garage is so maxed out. I can push it the rest of the way, should be right. Rightio, well, hope you enjoyed that, and having a bit of a look at the old Fords, the other two, until we get stuck into that XC again tomorrow, or the day after. I've got a few things to do. And we finished fitting that interior. I've just ordered the remote right-hand mirror. So that XC won't have a left-hand mirror like it should have until after roadworthy, and then I can visit all that stuff. We just want to get that thing on the road for now. So anyway, look, take good care of yourselves, enjoy your classic, and I'll see you soon.